Welcome to another session of Digital Marketing Answered. We're here today with Tim, CEO of Innovation Visual, and we're going to be chatting about all things AI. Do remember to like and subscribe and add comments below. And don't forget, you can catch up with everything we talk about here on our podcast. Hi, Tim. Thanks for coming along. So let's start with the basics. Can we talk about the difference between AI and machine learning?
So just start with a really controversial bit. So what I would say is there's different definitions floating around. So I'm not expecting to be providing the ultimate definition because talking to computer scientists compared with marketeers, you actually get quite different answers. What I would say is that the crucial thing, machine learning is almost like a subset of AI. It's part of it, which is you create algorithms that are designed to learn from data sets in order to then predict outcomes. So something might be you teach an algorithm to look at pictures of moles, and it's so that the algorithm can then define the difference between a normal mole and one which is a skin cancer mole, melanoma or whatever. And so you would give the algorithm a set of data to learn from, and machine learning is a self-learning thing, so it keeps adapting its own algorithm to get more accurate results. Artificial intelligence is really seen as, if you like, the encompassing term for technology that is often elements combined and algorithms that is trying to replicate human actions, thoughts, I use that term very broadly, and intellect and decision making. So AI, if you like, an example of AI decision making might be that it looks at a data set and it decides to segment these 500 consumers into this bucket and these 2,000 consumers in this bucket based on looking at the data sets and what they might have done. And so it has made a decision on that. I think if people really want to have good and accurate definitions, that they go and look it up and read it rather than rely on me.
Ask ChatGPT.
You can ask ChatGPT or you can ask Bard, and you'll get to slightly different answers, but it's the same thing. But I think what actually is more important now in this discussion about AI and marketing is the artificial intelligence as such, and algorithms and machine learning have been around for a lot longer than a lot of people appreciate. And so things like Google Ads, that's been using machine learning and artificial intelligence to define things like bidding strategies and stuff like that for a long time. The big wave that, if you like, has hit the world in terms of technology is generative AI, which is a subset of AI, if you like. And so the generative AI is taking things like text, images, video, and creating text, images, video, sounds from the inputs or the prompts. So you put prompts into generative AI and it generates something. And that is really, really significant because it's now producing outcomes, not simply making decisions or running things and stuff.
Okay. So thinking specifically about our world of digital marketing, we're already seeing some big changes and some big impacts. And I suppose it's a big question, but how do you see the future? How do you see that digital marketing will change thanks to AI in the immediate and near-term future?
Probably worth thinking about this on two levels. So first of all, the higher level, AI in the world, right? Because you got to think about AI, and I was actually talking to my dad. He's in his late 70s, and he was saying, "Explain to me about this AI. Everybody seems to be talking about it. Like, what's so significant about it?" And the analogy that I drew between what we're seeing with AI now, I think is as significant as the Industrial Revolution. So literally from when we went from being a largely farming and agricultural based economy and cottage working, spinning your yarn out of your cottage, to the factories with the water wheels and
Mechanization.
and mechanization.
Sure.
It's as significant as a change for society, and it's going to happen way more quickly than the Industrial Revolution happened. And the reason why I say that before we talk about the specifics of digital marketing is you need to think about the context of your product, service, business in a reshaping world.
Yeah.
So, this podcast and video, it's for senior marketing leaders. We're going to get down in some of the weeds of AI, but actually at this time more than anything, people need to be thinking, if they're senior marketing leaders, how is the world going to be reshaped by AI, and how is that going to impact our fundamentals as a business and what we do?
Yeah.
So that's the starting context. Then the specifics of AI in marketing. Transformative, particularly generative AI, because marketing as an activity, it actually creates a lot of content, it creates a lot of assets, and a lot of the focus of generative AI has actually been the creation of assets which can very easily be used for marketing.
Yeah.
And so there is a lot going on in that space, but it is not just the fact that ChatGPT or Bard can create you a blog, or DALL-E can create you an image. It's way more fundamental than that, and it goes into things like automation, personalisation, and those kind of things. So it's absolutely massive at a global level, but also at a marketing level. It's going to be.
So how can companies embrace AI and take advantage of everything it seems to be offering?
Okay, so I think one of the problems is the mountain that is everything that's out there at the moment with AI. If you're a CMO, marketing leader, there is so much to see and so much to look at. To provide some context, we have more than 100 tools in our knowledge base, our assessment pool that we've been through, we've used. And we've been looking at AI for months and months, and we've been working with it for months and months in order to provide our clients with the knowledge of saying, this will help here, this will help here. That's probably not right for you. We've seen that do that better, or this isn't suitable at all. And these tools, the big focus has been on the ChatGPTs, the Bards, the DALL-Es, and things like that. But these tools range all the way from things like the text prompts through to things like AI-powered chat, down even to a granular level. Like, we're assessing things like Shopify plugins and HubSpot, apps that go on there. I mean, to give you an idea, if you're in the Shopify marketplace, there are 475 AI, in inverted commas, because some of them I think are just slapping the label on, powered apps just in the Shopify marketplace, right? So if you're a marketing leader, you probably don't have the resources to dedicate to doing this. So you're going to need to look and turn to an agency like ourselves, which has the knowledge and has a partnership way of working in order to explore this. Because when we come to the application, it's very easy to say, hey, we'll make our blog writing more efficient. Just go use one of these tools to write blogs. That's not going to cut the mustard. the leaders, the senior leaders need to think about the whole thing, the whole strategy, and also how the world is going to change. So the first thing you need to do is to get some knowledge, but start exploring and be prepared to change. And when I mean change process, change tactics, change people.
Right.
You know, it's fundamental enough that you need to look at your team makeup and go, do I need, for the future, do I need these people? Are these people the right things? And you can start, you probably, the CEO is probably going to walk into the CMO's office and go, well, what are we doing with AI in marketing? And you probably want to tick some boxes and say, oh, we're using this for this and we're using that for that. But it's more fundamental than that. You need to start thinking about the direction of travel because things are moving so fast.
Yeah.
ChatGPT, I think November time or whatever, 2022. What will be there, in another year's time? It's going to be very different, and a lot of things are going to change. So, it's the question was, how do you start embracing it? You can start looking at some of these things, but you really need to have a knowledge and an understanding of what's going to be your plan and what's going to be your destination and who is going to help take you there. Because we'll get onto there are dangers of just jumping in and going, okay, I'll just use that to do that because it's faster.
Yeah. Well, so before we get on to that, in terms of the benefits, I mean, you touched on some of that, and some of the things it can do, whether it's image creation. I mean, it's endless, isn't it, in terms of actually what they can do? Obviously, content writing, all sorts of stuff that you can actually use to benefit your business. But is the biggest advantage sort of the efficiency gains in terms of how you're able to do things and the scale at scale? So you're able to do things at scale because you've got many brains working on it effectively.
The headline grabbing stuff is definitely a lot of things that will improve efficiency. So you don't need to search for a stock image if you can just say to DALL-E, create me this, and it creates you what you need. When it comes to content, you want to try, you want to create 5 variations of a landing page, see which one has the text that resonates most, where you can just take one set of text on that landing page, dump it into a tool, say, give me 5 different variations of this, then it's done. Super efficiency gains, really good like that. But that might be headline grabbing stuff. You can create an animation quickly, you can create images quickly. But there are a lot of other tools which are really important. So things like segmentation and personalisation. So using AI to say, okay, here's my customer base. How should we segment them? Rather than manually figuring it out, using AI to then segment and then help AI effectively driving some of that then messaging to those people.
And testing as well, I guess.
Testing.
At scale. So rather than having to do dozens of iterations and testing what works manually, the AI does that. Is that right?
It's going to be doing that.
So
and things like, and I think one that has been around for a long time, but people don't think of it as AI, is recommendation engines.
Right, yeah.
So you're on Amazon and your homepage on Amazon presents you with list of goods, no doubt, it'll have bits for cycles for you, and it'll, gardening equipment and things like that, all those things that you buy. I could have picked worse examples, couldn't I? But yours will differ from mine, and that is an AI recommendation engine. Now, Amazon have spent a lot of time and money to create that themselves, but that technology now is becoming something that is easier to access. So if you're running a store on a platform like Shopify, you can start thinking, okay, do I need to implement a really good recommendation engine and get that personalization be brought in there? I think that's that's a really important aspect for it. And then there's things like analysis of data and interpretation of data, those kind of things. So it's using AI to give you the insights faster.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't necessarily, whilst it's more efficient, I wouldn't say it's an efficiency thing. It's more of it's an improvement of knowledge thing.
Well, you can do more with the same results, effectively.
Or you might not have done it because it might have been really hard to do.
Yeah.
So you probably wouldn't have maybe tried to do it.
Yeah.
Or didn't have the tools.
Okay. And then on the flip side of all this exciting stuff and all the benefits, it's kind of been widely documented, but there are several kind of dangers. There are several limitations, issues as well that people need to be aware of, and obviously, need to tread carefully. Do you want to run through some of them and discuss?
Yeah. I mean, what I would say is AI is something which is going to fundamentally change society, and I'm not going to go into the whys and wherefores of things like misinformation, but from a marketing viewpoint, some of the downsides people need to be aware of, which I think some people have been quite naive and don't understand this, but AI can make stuff up, right? Properly, it's AI generated fabrication. And it's pure fabrication. So some good examples of this were, I think the New York Times asked, when was artificial intelligence first mentioned in the New York Times or something, right? And I don't know which of the platforms it was, came back and said there was an article referencing a talk in, I think it was, they said 1956 at Dartmouth College, renowned college in the US, which mentioned how machines would get to learn and do things, right? And you look at that result and you go, well, that's plausible, right? It is entirely made up.
Wow.
There wasn't even the talk in 1956, let alone the published article. It's entirely made up. There is a computer science, the head of computer science at one of the leading UK universities. The example he gave about this information fabrication was requesting 5 really good pure maths books, and the tool came back with these books which were written by professors and people with doctorates and things like that, and with really impressive titles. They were all made up.
Wow.
It's not a search engine.
But it looks convincing. It sounds convincing. And that's the worry, isn't it? And that's the concern.
And I think that as a major thing, marketing leaders have got to be aware of this danger. That said, there is a danger with this stuff either getting made up or being perpetuated.
Oh yeah.
So I was looking at there's a metric floating around about how much data a person creates on average every second. 1.7 megabytes per second is how much data you make as an individual on average.
Right.
Okay. But
I'll take your word for it.
But well, this is the thing. Where did that number come from? So you can see that if you search for that around the internet, you'll find lots of references. But one of the early references is, I think, in 2018. It is an estimate that somebody says that we think, given the propensity for people to take photos, upload images, blah, 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 do searches and things, somebody will, by such and such a date, be creating 1.7 megabytes of data. I couldn't find a reference from a study which said this is the analysis and this is how we've got to that number, right?
Yeah.
So the perpetuation of myths has been around without AI, but AI, if you could just make this even worse.
Exacerbate it, completely. Yeah.
So there's a fabrication thing.
Well, also there's the inaccuracy, because famously the launch of Bard, there was the inaccurate information about the James Webb Telescope, and it was proven wrong by multiple astronomers and whatever, the date they were given in terms of when the photograph was taken. And that's Bard. I mean, that's Google's AI.
Yeah.
On their launch day, getting it wrong.
Yeah.
It's a good example of why we need to tread carefully. And
Yeah.
human brains still have a place, I think. Is that fair?
Well, yeah, I think.
Or not?
I think. Well, I would say common sense
Yeah.
has a place.
But will AI develop common sense? A bit better common sense, you know?
That's jumping onto another thing. I think a good description I heard was AI hasn't grown up from a child to an adult, so doesn't understand the context of the world.
Yes.
Just going back to the problems with AI, though, from a marketing perspective, okay, so taking aside inaccurate stuff, the tools, some of the models, the data model, they're trained on different elements. So some people think the stuff's live, and not all of these systems are basically looking at the whole internet. They're looking at a subset. And if you think about, I read that one of the models was trained on between 5 and 10% of all the information on the internet, right? Yeah. You think, oh, that's a narrow slither. Yeah. But the internet's massive, so what would you expect? But you might find that things aren't as up to date if a model is not live, because if it was trained on a data set that was a year old, 2 years old, or whatever, it doesn't know recent stuff. So there's those kind of things. But you've got flaws while the models are learning. So we talked a lot about text. If we talk about image generation, generative AI with images, right? So I used DALL-E to create some images. I was doing some testing, right? And granted, it's early stages and it's going to learn from its mistake. But my wife's a medical illustrator, and she, I think, was the first person in the world to illustrate all 40 weeks of fetal development for somebody of Afro-Caribbean heritage. And so I thought I would put into it, can it actually do fetal illustrations? And what it came back with was, just literally goo. It was not recognizable as anything. And it also, weirdly, it had random made up labels on it of made up words.
Right.
So it obviously gone off and gone, well, what's a fetus? What is coloured person? What is development or whatever? And it just made stuff up. But what it had come to was awful. Now, I'm not saying that.
So Joe's job is safe for now.
For now. But these things learn. Yeah. And an example which I think will probably get solved quicker is these image programs really struggle with hands, because human hands are really complicated and they can have lots of different positions. So another search I did was actually for, my wife also plays cricket, so I did a woman cricketer bowling. Right, so that's, what that would look like, because you're a human, right? An AI, interestingly, because the word bowling didn't necessarily relate bowling to the action within cricket. So what you had, the best of the images, was a woman with fairly ropey hands. She was by a set of wickets which had 4 wickets, not 3, not the stumps. Right. So it had 3, 4, not 3. But she was bowling with a bowling ball. So not quite there. Pretty big ball to throw at somebody with a piece of willow at the other end. And some of the other ones were just literally somebody wearing cricket whites but on a bowling alley and things like that. So the reason why I bring that up, problems, they're not anywhere near perfect. They're not great, and you need to check the detail. Recently, we had an agency supplying to one of our clients some creative for ads that they didn't say to the client had been created with AI. But when you looked at it...
Is it a female cricketer bowling?
It wasn't a female cricketer bowling, but but it was as bad in terms of, they hadn't sanity checked what had been created. And what I mean by that is, in the image there were 3 people, or one of the images there were 3 people, one of which was missing an arm, right, which is a fairly significant thing. And it was, and you know, for context, it wasn't deliberately missing an arm, it was just missing an arm. And again, the hands, there were a variety of fingers.
Okay.
And you just, that is really not a great use of AI, and that is a danger, because if that agency had put that stuff out as is, because they sent it to the client, so they thought it was going to get used. It's just embarrassing.
Okay.
So
what about sort of written content? I think there's lots being talked about in terms of Google, and will they penalise you? And the algorithms are kind of detecting AI content. So where are we with that, and how's that going to develop?
Right.
What are the dangers there?
If I knew the answer definitively, I would probably be a very wealthy man. Google protects their algorithm, and has always done, so won't tell you exactly. Depending on who you ask, you will get any answer from, oh my God, don't put AI written content on your website, it'll destroy your rankings, through to, it doesn't matter, put AI content on your website, it will be fine. And in fact, it will help because you'll have lots of content. So, interestingly, there is a tool that I was looking at the other day, and this AI tool is specifically designed to take content written by AI and change it so that it cannot be detected as being written by AI. Right. So let's unpack the scenario quite a lot on here. So what is Google? We'll use Google because it's the big search engine. What is Google's mission? To organize the world's information. What is text-generated AI doing? It's learning from what's already out there, and it's recycling and creating from what's already out there. How unique, good, valuable is the content that AI creates, because it's recycling? And if it is just recycling, Google's not going to want to organize the world's information if it's just a rehash of what's already there, because that would be inefficient. Google has to prioritize what it thinks is efficient.
And also, some of that information, like you said earlier, is fabricated or inaccurate. So it's not information, isn't it? Well, it's not genuine fact. So it needs to be careful with that as well.
I think the non-fact stuff's probably a small minority, but I think the bigger thing is it worth Google indexing stuff that AI's generated? And if you read stuff that you know has been generated by AI, you realise it's quite thin and superficial.
Right.
So it's like, we could have got AI to write a script for us to talk about this stuff, and it'd probably be a lot shorter, which might be beneficial for some people.
We'd be better looking. Come on, why don't we use this?
There's steps that AI can.
It's not that clever.
But it's quite superficial. And it's not being thought about, or it's not being questioned and things like that. And I think my sense is, in the short term, the problem with the AI content is that people are going to be able to disguise it, but they won't be able to disguise that it's not very good. And it comes back down to quality over quantity. And there is going to be lots and lots of noise out there, and lots of very similar noise. And if you think, and using AI to create ideas for blogs, that's fine. And these AI tools are saying, you could put exactly the same prompt in and you'll get a different answer to somebody else. But how different is it going to be? So are we going to see like lazy marketeers ending up creating lots of content which is just the same as the other content that's on the rival site and blah, 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 and just noise, whether it be content, whether it be social posts, whatever. And I think that actually what we need to be thinking about, if you're going to be good, is we can use AI to be more efficient, but we need to make all of our stuff better. So let's not target more, let's target better and use the efficiency to drive better. I think that's
Yes.
That's
so an
the key thing.
intelligent use of AI to help benefit
And setting your bar higher.
yeah. Okay.
Going, okay, well, if I can do this faster,
Yeah.
I won't just do more of the same.
Yes.
I
Okay.
will use that time to make better.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think that's where the smart money is.
Yeah.
And then so talking about the algorithm. So so I think Google will be fairly good at spotting AI. My belief is, and I have a bit of knowledge to suggest that Google will penalise stuff that it can identify as AI written. But as I say, don't know.
Okay.
But people are going to get better at covering it up, but it'll still be a bit crappy. But let's think search on a longer term, right? Yeah. And this again comes back CMOs think in a different plane to the marketing managers, the people doing the low level stuff. What's the higher plane on what the impact here is on search? Well, people are searching on ChatGPT effectively. People are searching on on Bard because they are writing, how do I do this? How do I do that? Mm-hmm. Well, those searches effectively have been on Google or have been on YouTube. How do I learn about this? What's the difference between this and this? And the search results page gives you 10 results plus some ads and things like that, right? Where is the SERPs page going to be? Yeah. Because you're probably old enough to remember, you've been in the industry long enough to remember when we had a SERPs page which had stuff across the top, stuff down the side, right? Yeah. Because we were all searching on desktop, and then Google went, no, mobile's going to become really important. Yeah. We're like, oh my God, they've put 3 or 4 ads at the top and then 3 or 4 ads at the bottom. We've lost all those ones at the side. Heaven forbid the world will come to an end. Stuff changes, right? Well, think actually, what will a search engine results page look like in a year? Yeah. And these text tools, the majority of these text tools, like as in text, returning text as an answer, they do not reference where they got the information from. So if you're a CMO and you're getting a lot of your traffic and a lot of your sales and leads and things from organic search, there should be a orange flashing light in your office right now going, what are we doing? How are we visualizing? Yeah. What is our agency telling us about where it's going to be? Now, we have some views on this and that we're helping our clients with how to think about evolving there. But I think the bigger picture with search is this: where is the results page going to go, and what will search look like, and also where will search take place? That is a much more fundamental problem than going, will we get penalised tomorrow for the fact that our junior content writer has been idle and used chat to create content while they played World of Warcraft all afternoon and got paid for it. Yeah, sure. Okay. And again, this comes back to quality over quantity.
Yeah. Okay. So thinking specifically about digital marketing, and you mentioned earlier sort of perhaps the changes of a makeup of a team and different skill sets that are required because AI will have an impact and will be able to replace certain elements. Can you run through some of those and where you think you can see AI having the biggest impact?
I don't want to be the predictor of doom, but I think the more specialist your role or your task, the more easily AI will replace you or that task. Okay. So look at, talk about search and talk about content. If you think about paid search, right? We'll use that as an example. That's very specialist. Mm-hmm. Give us some money, put it on Google Ads, get some stuff from it. If you're currently a CMO and you're spending a lot of money with a specialist paid agency to spend your paid budget, contact me today. Literally get in contact, because you shouldn't be doing that. Yeah. Because what they probably don't realise is that AI has already replaced that. Mm. I talked to a leader of an unnamed I know quite a few specialist paid agencies. I talked to a leader of one of those not that long ago, and they looked and they'd done and they're very good. They'd done a proper hierarchical campaign structure for a new client, and they'd built out this amazing thing, and it was really granular, and they're good at what they do. They're really good at paid search. And then they ran that against Performance Max, which is the black box of Google Ads, and it needs a bit of setting up. So you need a bit of setting up. You need somebody to water it, but it is not even in the same. We were talking about hours, not days here of care and attention. The fact of the matter was, Performance Max came back with 30% better performance than the best a good paid agency can do. So you look at that, and whether you're in-house paid or whether you're a paid agency, how do you compete with the AI, right? Yeah. Because it's numbers, and that's where AI is brilliant. There's loads of data to go on. I mean, it's different if you're only trying to spend, £500 a month, and the AI doesn't have much data to work with. But if you're spending a lot of money, it's like you don't need a full-time paid specialist. And this is, you're talking about where is it going to replace people and change things. What you need is you need an agency that sits over silos like Innovation Visual, where you understand what the paid is driving into, where you can then make more efficient your marketing campaigns or your personalisation, whether it be e-commerce with recommendation engines or whether it be B2B, where you're leveraging the power of what's going into the nurture flows and the workflows and extracting the value from the contents that your paid campaigns are generating. That's who should be managing your paid. And this is where overall, in terms of the marketing sphere, the people that are going to thrive are the ones that are the thinkers that can join the dots over different silos, over different platforms. So you can have somebody who is maybe a paid strategist, but their skill, their value isn't just in setting up the campaign structures. Their skill and their value is going, we should be looking to target this type of person, or we should be looking to do this once we've got them onto the site and things like that. You're not going to need the numbers of content writers, and I think actually it's going to be a shock to quite a few companies that have been in a in-housing phase, if you like, since COVID. Yep. Lots of companies have been in an in-housing phase, bringing in often a lot of very low-level resource, generating volume, and they've been thinking that the way to win at digital marketing is quantity, and it's not going to be. It's quality, right. It's thought, and it's strategy, and it's joining the dots.
Yeah, okay. So now can we look at where AI won't be of benefit in digital marketing, at least currently, things it can't do quite yet, where you still need humans, where we still need that human intelligence. Can you give us some idea of those areas?
Well, as I was saying, I think the generalist and the strategist that sits over things, that's much harder. AI is looking to do things that it's got data to learn about. Yeah. So what doesn't it do? What it's not going to replace? I think I think I'd like to say ideas. There's a lot of people saying that AI is really good for idea generation and creativity, and I was listening to a guy who creates videos, and he was saying about how you can do iterations and stuff like that. But you've got to start it off with something. You've got to have a starting point. And I think that AI hasn't grown up in the context of of being a child and growing up and learning about the world. Yeah. it's learnt from data sets, it's learnt from secondhand. It's as if it's been kept in a cell for its whole life, but it's read loads of newspapers and books, but it hasn't actually walked down the high street. Right.
And it's only as good as the information it's been fed as well. So
and it's got, and it, you know, and what we didn't mention, one of the problems, things like bias, so data bias. So where in a marketing context, I think showing, it's not going to replace the leadership, fortunately for all the CMOs listening. It's not going to replace the leadership. It's not going to replace the strategic, this is what we should do. This is how we can win on our playing field. So it can give you the data about your playing field. It can give you an analysis. It could even segment your customer base, and it could tell you, you know, and talk to certain people in certain ways. But what it's not going to give you is, this is the direction that you should be taking to be unique. And, you know, you have to be doing something different to lead. If you don't want to lead in your space, just follow the other people that are winning, kind of thing. But you'll only, the best you'll ever get to is second. Right? So the winners are the ones that will use AI in a smart way, but they know that direction and the real clarity of vision and that understanding of their customer at the core level, not a data level, the emotions. They haven't yet programmed the AI to really understand emotions, from what I understand.
And is it fair to say that AI, you know, at the moment, it isn't really capable of the joined up thinking of across multiple channels, you know, think how everything links together, how everything integrates? I mean, is that something where humans still hold the key?
I would say correct. I think that it will be something that they will look to solve with AI, in terms of they will use the data points to get the joined up thinking. But how long will it take, and how good will it take? That's interesting. The other thing that actually, you know, we should be remembering is AI is going to benefit the larger companies much more in many ways than the smaller ones, because the larger companies can afford to employ more AI. So there's a money factor, but also they have more data points. So if you are small and you're an e-commerce site and you sell a limited range of products, an AI recommendation engine is going to have less value than if you're a big store and you sell lots of products and there is cross-sell and upsell opportunities. If you think about the biggest online store, Amazon, you know, you can buy almost anything on it. So if it knows that your purchase behavior indicates that because you bought a garden fork, you're actually quite likely to, down the line, I don't know, buy this expensive type of wine bottle opener. You know, really peripheral. But the AI will be able to join up these things in the recommendation engine. There's an opportunity there for that product to be promoted to you. If you're the gardening only e-commerce store and they sell you a garden fork, you know, the recommendation engine can only go, well, does he need a spade? Does he need a bag of compost? Does he need some plant pots? Doesn't start thinking, does he need a Bluetooth stereo so when he's out in the garden weeding, then he can listen to the music, you know? So if you think about the technology, the larger you are, it's not simply about the money, but the more data you can feed into systems. And the more then those systems will get smart for you. And the example for now is this, the Google's AI bidding, you know, Performance Max. I think, you know, numbers are kicked around, but something like £5,000 a month, spend on that to get it off the ground, right?
Yep.
So if your Google paid budget is £2,500 a month, Performance Max is, might really struggle. And those numbers are very much plucked out of the air because it's going to depend on how many clicks, what's the cost per click and stuff like that.
Sure.
Because there are people paying £100 a click, there are people paying £1 a click. So, the amount of data you get is dependent on things like that. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And so that kind of leads to the million-dollar question. In terms of digital marketing agency, I mean, if I'm a CMO or a business owner watching this, listening to this, I'm thinking, hold on, so AI does sound pretty good now. So why do I need an agency? All of these things it can do. We've been through some of the pitfalls. I've got to be careful of that, sure. But equally, there's loads of benefits. So I could actually go, well, hold on. I'll shrink my marketing department. I can get rid of the agency. I can do a lot of this stuff through AI, which is a cost saving, and see potentially as good, if not better, results. Discuss.
Yeah. I mean, I'm obviously not going to turn around and say, oh no, this is, don't use us, right?
Yeah.
But I genuinely believe, and we've been working on this as a business for months in terms of our position when it comes to AI. Some agencies, your need for them is going to greatly reduce, let's say. But I think where we are in terms of having spent a huge amount of money and continue to spend that in embracing AI, learning AI, empowering our clients with AI, companies need us more than ever. Like, I see this as, it's going to be a growth phase. We have a policy of only, one customer, in a sector, in a space, so that we get no customers competing against each other. I think we're going to have more and more people knocking on the door, and that we're going to say, I'm sorry, but we work with somebody already in your space. Because I think what we are doing is exactly what they need in terms of the client need to be helped. Yeah. What do agencies fundamentally do? They are there to amplify the impact of the marketing team in the organization. We're here to amplify impact, right? What we do as an advisory, a consultancy, a strategic sitting over lots of different areas, is we feed into that brilliantly when it comes to AI. Because we can say, do this, don't do that, use this tool, don't use that tool. That is absolutely right up our street. And it's like we talk about the job roles. If you are utilising a paid only agency, do you really need that now? Are you, if you're using a content only agency, do you need that now? If you're using, a video agency, do you need that now? What you still need video, but what you need is video in the context of working with the agency team that understands how it's going to be applied across the whole strategic gambit. You still need content, but you don't want that siloed. The content could be created much more rapidly and iterated on through AI tools. So there's still a need, but you don't want that siloed thinking because it's too siloed, and same with the paid. So I think that the days of the specialist are numbered by AI, and that might flip around when the tools get so hard to use potentially that they might go, well, actually, you need somebody to do this for you. It's like, if you employ Salesforce, you need to employ a Salesforce administrator because it's so hard to use. Whereas if you employ HubSpot to do the same thing, it's fine because it's designed to be easy to use. So, but I don't know how many people will fall down that hole. But I think now and going forward, you're better off with the agency with really deep specialist knowledge, very expert people. It is much better to pay what you might think is a very high day rate to get hours worth of input than paying the same amount of money per month for somebody who's there for 40 hours or a week, churning out the same old, because you're creating noise, you're creating volume, not creating quality. You're not necessarily directing it. So I actually feel for us, this is a massive opportunity to continue to add value to our clients. And I know that's probably sounded like a massive advert for Innovation Visual. There are other agencies, similar to us, so I don't want people to think that I'm just spouting that. But that's what I truly believe. And if you look at the space, you look at what AI is doing, it makes sense what I'm saying about it's about the bigger picture, it's about the strategy, it's about joining the things up.
Yeah.
It's not anymore about like specialist execution, because specialist execution is what AI is brilliant at doing.
Yeah, sure.
It's still agency, but it's AI, it's the in-house team, but it's a reshaping of the in-house team. It's an embracing of AI at multiple levels, not just a tactical surface level. And then it's agency working, but it's thinking about where the impact is. You bring on an agency to increase your impact. Think about it in the same way, you drop a stone and you get the ripples going out. A good agency will make your team more effective and the AI more effective. Just as the AI has the ripple effect, it will make your agency and your team more effective. But things will change. So if you've got quite a, should we say, a shallow pyramid, so you've got quite a lot of doers at the bottom, I think your team will shrink in that area.
Yeah.
I think the doers are becoming limited. Their days are numbered, and it's the same with if you're paying for specialists to do things, there's probably AI that can do those specialist tasks.
Yeah. Okay.
Makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's been really fascinating. Great to talk about everything to do with AI, and particularly within the context of digital marketing.
Yeah. Let's hope it hasn't all become out of date by the time we've.
Good point. We better get this video out.
Yeah.
But thanks for watching. As always, remember to subscribe, and we'd love to hear your comments. So please comment below. But for now, yeah, thanks very much, Tim, and we'll see you next time on Digital Marketing Answered.